Hello, Shape of Fantastic Days for stream. I want to share with you, don't give up on your Japanese study. Just yesterday on TikTok, has one guy has given me like the advice, hey, let's do a video. I want to be more motivated about learning my Japanese, or moving on with my Japanese learning. Can you do a video to motivate myself? And I said, hey, why not? And this is what I'm doing here. Now, right now, when you're studying Japanese, you might be stumbled upon, the first thing that people are stumbled upon is basically, of course, the kanji, but besides the kanji, of course, the counters. And let me tell you that the counters, you have like hundreds and thousands of counters that most people in Japan don't even know of. Some of them might heard of, but mostly not. And that's a good trick that Japanese people are actually using, who are basically lazy to look up those things and remember those things. You can just use ko for everything that you don't know. You can use, of course, the irregular counts, the hitotsu, futatsu, but the easier one is just ko, 1, iko, niko, and so on. Really easy. Everyone uses when you're in Japan. Maybe it's not right grammatically, but everyone uses in speech. Now, that's the first thing that I would just want to eliminate you. And second thing is, if you want to learn Japanese, of course, you have your books, you have your things, you have your wanikani and stuff like that, which is amazing. And so many people are starting off, going to schools and Japanese language. And so many schools are just teaching you the old method of, hey, you should just write it down, the whole kanji, remembering after 10,000 times you might know it. And this might be good for tests. Let me tell you why. In Japan, basically, when they learn something for tests. And this kind of just write it down, it's not really... keep on always be in your mind, but because our brain, you can see our brain is as a computer, right? You have the hard disk that you remember forever, right? And you have the working memory, the work memory thing for working processes. I do apologize. Facebook is sometimes just, crashing. I don't know why. It's just say end of the process. You type OK, and it's end of the process. You type OK, end of the process. It's just kind of fuzakeru. And basically, we have, if you see our brain, we have like two types of memories. We have the short-term memory and the long-term memory. The long-term memory, you can see it as when you are familiar with computers, you have like the hard disk, right? And the short-term memory is just for processes, aka for tests. You can see it is a RAM. RAM, random access memory. And this kind of random access memory is when you learn a thing for 1,000 times, for 100 times, you write it down, because it is hard for our brain to get there. Well, our brain, first of all, before you actually want to memorize some language or something like that, our brain is actually memorizing something more, not really as data. Our brain is memorizing something with emotions. with emotions that you attach to something, and with pictures that you attach to something. And these pictures that you have give you such certain emotions. So this is how you're actually memorizing things. Not by just reading the whole number or the whole thing just over and over again. This is how we used to learn Chinese back in Japan. It doesn't give you any benefits because it will first bombard your brain with unnecessary information. As I told you before, your void has to be empty. But with those kind of learning method, your void becomes just full with bullshit. You don't need it. If you learn a language, don't learn this style, okay? And I tell you what style. When you're learning Japanese especially, you have, of course, the Wanikani. And the Wanikani is using the Heising Method. So do not underestimate this method. This method is you creating out of kanjis small stories. In those kind of stories you picture in your brain, the better you can picture those stories in your brain, desto better you can memorize it, desto less you have used your RAM, your random access memory in your brain. There's this short time remembering thing. The less you need it. And the less you have to learn. In fact, you can actually, if you have you can really see this picture really brightly, you have just to memorize each kanji, each word, each grammar just once in a lifetime. Just once. So I want to trust you. When you're learning Japanese, especially you stumble about kanji and stuff like that, do the thing. Do the thing. Don't write this kanji 100 times, how the teacher is telling you. Don't do it. See what each object means, put them together as a puzzle, make a story out of it in your mind, and voila, you have it. Pretty easy and very effective. Very effective method. Because till that time, I was sitting there for 7-8 years in this class and I couldn't Japanese at all. And after someone give me this book, say, hey, use this method. And I say, okay, let's try it out. And like after half a year, I could like 1,000 kanjis. Boom. And after a year, I could 2,000. Wait, really. And for myself, it was just a rapid growth. Just because the method is the right one. The old method, just by writing it down, it does not help you. In fact, when I did this kind of writing down thing and stuff like that, I felt like so bad. I even started to hate Japanese. Even though I loved it, I hate this writing thing. I hated everything. Because I didn't have the fun in exploring the kanji. But now I have the fun. And now, when I read a text and don't see any kanji, I say, dude, it's so hard to read. For myself right now, I rather read the kanjis than the katakana. Because katakana, yeah, I can read it, but when it just gets boom right into your face, I have to, okay, let's read it. My reading speed gets slower down when I read katakana. But when kanji, boom, 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 boom. You can be there too. And the thing is, when you learn, I just want to give you some tips for learning. First of all, use the Heising Method. It's the best one. Now the next one is use the Wanikani, because you use the Heising Method. I don't know if it's for free or not for free. But if it's not for free, then just buy those books and you can use it forever. Now, when you have those used, another thing is also that is not often mentioned by teachers and by other when you, for example, when you learn from JRPT, the intonation, guys. The intonation, really important thing. The tonality of Japanese. If you have kaeru or kaeru, which one? Okay, or you have ame or ame. Which one is it, right? And this is also, it's habitual thing. It's a habitual thing that you are have to adjust your mind to, because most languages do not have such a tonality like in Japanese. It is the hardest part maybe to learn, and in order to learn the right way, every time you stumble upon, for example, you watch an anime or you watch a YouTube, or in my opinion, anime is good. And I know so many people are starting off learning Japanese because, hey, I want to see anime without subtitles. Back then when I was kid and watched Naruto, of course I had also this kind of dream, I want to do it, right? But then I have realized that, hey, those cute Japanese girls are not really into people who are weeps. Not that much, let me say. And when you just say, I want to just see anime, I don't want nothing, I want to go to Japan because Japan is a country of anime. Don't go to Japan. Because you most likely don't have, your expectation will be broken. Why? Because Japan is not anime. It's a country in the first place. Okay? It's a country in the first place. It has also its faults. It has maybe more faults than your own country. Especially when it comes to socialized faults. Social faults. Things like suicide rate and stuff like that. Or overtime work. There are many things. And Japan is known that it's not the best one. Or this kind of Japanese is racism. I mean, it's speaking of Japanese racism, it's more like the perception, okay? So I don't want to break your dreams. However, I don't want you to, if you just focus on anime, I don't want you to just be in this one bubble, right? Because if you go to Tokyo, let me tell you, there's just 3 places that you can go if you are really into anime and just want to have anime. There's just 3 places in whole Tokyo. Maybe 4, okay? Maybe 4 places. Let me say 4 places, okay? But mostly actually 3 places, okay? First place, everyone knows Akihabara. Second place is, some people knows Ikebukuro. Third place is, it's just a small part of Nakano. And fourth place is just really a tiny part of Odaiba. These 4 places, right? But you have actually, Tokyo is 27, I believe. You have 27 districts. And you just limit yourself on those 4. Okay? Do you see? Because if your motivation is just to go to Japan because of anime, you can do it, but you limit yourself to 4 things. Japan is far more. Japan has a more richer history than the most societies, I can tell you. Maybe China has more, or maybe India has more, but then come Japan. Then you have Japan. It has really rich history. It goes like really thousands of years back. Like Heian Jidai, you have like 2,500 years back. This is how the richest history is. And if you go like Jomon Jidai, you have like 65,000 years back. Right? So Japanese history is really freaking rich. And the culture of Japan is so diverse. Right? Normally people say, okay, you have the West and the East, you have the Kansai and the Kanto. Not only. If you look more distinctly, you have 47 prefectures. Every single prefecture has its own part of culture. And within this prefectures, some cities or some small parts have also a part of own culture. So what I want to tell you, if you just focus yourself on anime, you will miss out a lot. Okay? Because you have also the whole industry, the whole entertainment industry. And I'm telling you, Japanese entertainment industry is the second hugest entertainment industry in the world after the American one. And Japanese entertainment industry does it more smarter than actually also the American one. Because Japanese talents, they are of not just singers, some people who are singing, they're also performing in movies. They are also going to shows, like variety shows, sitting there. They are also doing some modeling. They are also in some commercials. You will see so much. The entertainment industry, they're so huge. I'm telling you. And your motivation to go to Japan is actually explore those things. But before you want to go, I want really to entrust you to learn Japanese, because so many people cannot speak decent English. Simple. You will always have struggle with communication, especially when you say, "Hey, I want to have a Japanese chick." Good luck. Some of gaijin hunters you might have seen, but they will use you as a English trainer for free. If you have luck, they might see something more in you, but most likely they just want to have someone they can train their English with. And those who are actually going up-road, okay, with those you might have some connections, but mostly you have to learn Japanese to connect with those people. I personally have people who have friends who are in entertainment industry in Japan. They are modeling, they are doing acting, because they can speak decent Japanese. And this is why I also got to TV show for 3-4 times, because I can speak Japanese. If I couldn't, I might just be in one TV show, but not another one. I'm telling you. So, Japan will give you a lot of opportunities for you. Especially, when you learn Japanese, you use the method that I'm told you, right? Also, really important thing, I just forgotten it. When you are watching movie, watching anime, or maybe YouTube, right? It's stumbled upon a new phrase, a new something. Always look up those things. First thing, what does it mean? Right? Secondly, the pronunciation. But certainly not just the pronunciation, but also the tonality. And fourth thing, in what kind of occasions do you use these words? Or do you use this kind of expression? Really important, especially in Japanese. You can mess up with the occasions. You can use the word that you say, okay, maybe so, but you don't use in this kind of occasion those kind of words. There are words who are used for certain occasions. If you don't know it, you will just mess it up. You will make a not so good impression, which you actually want to have. So I always, before I didn't look up the tonation, but dude, it's so important. Always look up the tonation, the tonality, not just the meaning. Okay? And use it. And also, when you so every time you look something, you just open a Word document or memo on your phone and just make the memo. And what you want to do it, you write those things down. What does it mean and so on? By the way, use Anki. Anki is a good app to use it. It's a flashcard app. You can use it for free. And just make your flashcards in Anki. You can also use the pronunciation and so on and how to pronounce it. Maybe use Google Translator who shows you how to pronounce the right way and so on. Really cool thing. You can just use it. That's how I'm currently learning my Korean. And you just use Anki, write those things down, and you're good. And you just go with Anki or with your list, and just every single day you just repeat those things. Anki is even better because it's spaced repetition. It will show you what you can good, then it will show you not so often, but what you can bad, it will show you more often, so you have a actually better experience. So Anki is the best way to do it, in my opinion. And of course, use Wanikani to better your kanjis. Also, maybe you can try out to, write something every single day with your hand, because many people, especially Japan, they can read the kanjis, but they cannot write them. And this is a big issue right now, especially in digital age. Many people are becoming too lazy to write those things. They can read it, but they cannot. They can read it. They know the meaning, but they cannot write it. So if you can write it, you have a better one. And I'm telling you, if you go to Japan, in my opinion, the 3 years where I spent in Tokyo were my best years by far in my life. Of course, it will chaotic. Of course, you have to give up on many things. However, it is worth it. It is really worth it to be there, to breathe the same air as other people breathing, sniff into the thing. And of course, you can just go for a trip to Japan, which is also fine. You will love Japan because it is the best destiny maybe to have a trip to. However, if you're really serious with Japanese, I want you to not just take in trips, but maybe live there for months, or maybe even for 9 months that most countries can do, for 90 days, for 3 months that most countries can do this 90 days visa that you don't need a visa for. Just be there. Just be there. And if you can, if you have the qualification, maybe also work there. You will see how it differs from the perception of what people are thinking of Japan. Oh yeah, you have the animes, you have the whole kawaii stuff. It is just a small part. It is really a tiny part. And if you just thinking Japan is just the kawaii stuff and the whole anime stuff, you have a really small viewpoint. You're really in your small bubble. Of course, you can find people in those bubble when you're in Japan, but I'm telling you, there are far more experience that you can do in Japan that you cannot do in any other country when you are going out of this anime bubble. And the thing is, I'm not saying anime. I'm also watching right now JoJo right part 6, and I love it. But the thing is, don't just watch anime. Also expand your view on dramas. Expand your view on things like shows, like variety shows, like the whole comedy things. If you understand Japanese comedy, you're really good. Or if you even go deeper and go like the quiz shows, which are really freaking hard. I mean, if you watch some quiz shows, you can sometimes answer 1 or 2 questions, maybe the kanji reading and stuff like that, if you're more into it. Or if you're good in history or in math or in physics, or in chemistry. Basically, they have everything in those quiz shows, and yeah, it will be good. And when you're in Japan, as I told you, you have more opportunities. Especially in Tokyo, you can find far more better people than here in Germany. In Germany, it's really harsh to find good people. It's really harsh to find people who are really high ranked, in society. I'm telling you, just in Japan, I was sitting there having my beer and just asking, hey dude, where I come from, man? As I'm from the US. Hey, cool, I'm California. Hey, where are you working for? I'm working for Google. Hey, what? You're working for Google? Holy moly, man. You have just people there who work for Google right next to you. Because you have so many meetups in Tokyo, especially in Tokyo, so many. You can go on foreign concerts. Maybe because many foreign artists came to Tokyo. Really many. I went to like Marilyn Manson and stuff like that, all the rock stars. I went there. Everything there, everything is Tokyo. You don't need to go anywhere. Really, it's so convenient. It's so freaking convenient. You can go to all the, also all the EDM stuff like Ultra Japan is Tokyo. It's just wow. It's just really crazy what you can do in just one city. You don't have to then go anywhere. Of course, I want you to go out of Tokyo. I want you to go also to prefectures Niigata and like Nagasaki and so on. I mean, also maybe in Tohoku, right? The thing is, Niigata is Tohoku. However, if you just want to stick in Tokyo, it's also fine, because you will find everything you need, basically. It's just crazy what you can find there. And this one dance town, it's really crazy. It will really go beyond your expectations, because many things you will hate, but there are things you will love. This is why you will stay there. And I also found people not just from Google, some people also even from Goldman Sachs, man. Goldman Sachs. I mean, one of the biggest investor or from Facebook. Really, I'm just doing Facebook. I have seen people who are working on Facebook there. What? Yeah, this was my impression. Like, what? And it's easy to have access to those people. And as a foreigner, it's also access to have. It's sometimes easier have to access even to the entertainment industry, which is, as I said, really huge in Japan. Really huge. And also right now, if you are still young, you can watch, of course, TV, which is also good, like TV shows, B-side anime. But also, one good thing is YouTube. YouTube, because Japanese trends are really changing really quick, really fast, and the majority of young people do not watch TV right now, but they watch YouTube. If you watch like things like Condot, like Tenjimu, things like Hikaru or Raphael, or other entertainers like Hikakin and so on. I mean, there's so many. You have, or more intellectual things like Daigo or YouTube Dialogue. If you watch those things, then you have a better perspective of what is in right now. And of course, if you are subscribe to some TikTokers in Japan and see what kind of dances they're doing and so on, it's also good to see kind of the trends. And of course, Japan, when it comes to Japan, Twitter. If you're on Twitter, if you can read Twitter, Japanese Twitter, go on there, just do it. You will see what's going on there, especially Twitter. And those things you can do, really. And just don't give up on Japan. And it's not about just studying, as I said. Do not study like 10 hours a week or something like that. Better 10 minutes a day, really. 10 minutes a day, it's more than enough. Just study 10 minutes a day. It becomes a habit. You feel like, hey man, I can find out from this. And also praise yourself. Every single time you find like, hey, this one's something new. Hey, I know what it is. You read a newspaper or... also, switch from mangas to newspaper. Because first, you will learn the language that people are using at workplace. Especially if you want to work in Japan in the future. Newspapers are really good. Another thing is also when you can start with Asahi, which is pretty easy. It's how I started. Of course, you can start with Yomiuri, or there's so many others. And then work your way. Yomiuri is more harder than Asahi, I believe. And then you can work your way up till Nikkei, for example, the economy newspaper, which is the highest rank newspaper, the most intellectual one. And basically, when you work your way up, the first one, it will be really if a leap of faith. But once you kind of do this leap of faith, what will happen is that, first of all, you will understand nothing. But then you will see, like, you can just read like one sentence each day of newspaper, one sentence each day, and translate it. Translate as I said it, everything, translate it, in which occasion it's used and so forth, translate it. To understand what does it mean. The first sentence. You will see, like, from day to day, this kind of sentence I've seen before, this kind of word I've seen before, this kind of grammar I've seen before. You will have these aha moments. And the more aha moments you have, the easier it is for you to see, okay, cool, I understand this, I understand that. And then you can move forward. Maybe you do 2 sentences a day, 3 sentences a day, and increase it. Little by little, you get the certainty. You will increase also your vocabulary. You will understand more, and you will also see what kind of words are used in which kind of occasions. Because when you're using, things, when you're watching just animes, they're using anime language. And the biggest thing on anime is that anime is not always using the language that is used on daily basis. This is the biggest pitfall that many people are falling in. Because they have this kind of character language. For example, the most common is Naruto Dattebayo. Nobody uses Dattebayo in Japan. Nobody. Just people who want to imitate Naruto using Dattebayo. Nobody else. So if you want to tell, hey, I'm a weeb, Dattebayo, everyone will see you as a weeb. If you want to have this kind of sigma on yourself, here you go. And people who are normal, they will say nothing, but it will perceive you as a freak. And if you already seen as a freak in your country, well, in Japan it might be, depending on person and on places, might be even harder. Especially in places when you go like Shibuya, where the most young people are. Well, not everyone is there in anime. Especially in clubs. Not anyone is in anime, I can tell you. So expand your view, not just expand your range, not just of anime, just expand it, okay? If you try to use anime language, there are some, slice of life shows where you can actually use this language that is actually used, like Koreimo, I believe, has some, like those kind of slice of life shows, or this kind of more, not all more shows, but some of them, those kind of wholesome shows include everyday's language. But you have also to distinguish what is actually everyday's language and what is just like this character's language, right? When someone is using nya because it is playing a cat, of course nobody is using nya in normal days, right? In normal language. So you have to distinguish. It's really important to distinguish what is what, and you can just distinguish it by just kind of not just focusing on anime, but also like drama or YouTube or other things. But YouTuber sometimes also have those kind of habits, so you have to also be a little bit aware with some YouTubers, especially when you are playing some characters. They might have something, but most of them don't have any characters. I mean, they play some characters, but they are not using those kind of character language, which is more common in anime. Okay? As I told you, I'm not against anime. I'm also watching anime. However, don't focus just on it. Really important thing. And if you're a weeb, of course you can tell someone you're a weeb. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. I mean, they will not really hate it, but they will not perceive you as you might. For example, you want to hit on a girl and you say, I'm a freaking weeb. If she's not a weeb, she might be a little bit overwhelmed with your weebery. It depending also on character, because you cannot say every Japanese people is so, but so you have those kind of measurements that might be likely different. And because Japan is more like this, not really individualistic, but more like of the group culture, It's really hard to get in the group in the first place. But in the second place is also it's hard to understand if this human being is meaning the truth or not the truth, because on the surface they might be laughing, they might be everything, but they will say, okay, let's meet again, and you will not meet her anymore. This can happen in Japan. However, I want to trust you that you can do it, that when you speak decent Japanese, and before going to Japan, I want you really to start your Japanese, go maybe 4 and 3. Before you go to Japan, maybe 4 and 3. And 2 will be great. And 1 will be fantastic, right? But aim for the N3 before you go to Japan, especially if you want to live there. But if you want, you can go for the language school with knowing like konnichiwa and sayonara and kawaii, the 3 words that you know. Maybe you can count from 1 to 10. Awesome. But let me tell you that if you go to language school, depending on the language school, it will be harsh for you if you don't know Japanese at all. It will be really harsh for you. If you're an avid studier, if you can study really avidly, it will be good for you. However, if not, you might not enjoy Japan if you are going to language school with 0 Japanese. Really important, guys. Pick this up. If you want to go to Japan, know some Japanese. Know at least hiragana and katakana. You can learn it 1-2 weeks if you just give it a try. And always, as I said, if you're learning something, do not use your brain. Use your what? Imagination. Imagination, make stories and remember those stories. And attach emotions to those stories. Then you say, okay, I see this emotion, I see the story, boom, you track down, you have all those things that you need. You do not need the information. You do not need to bombard your brain with bullshit. Okay? Really important thing. So yeah, Rishiba, I hope you got some value from it. And today it was more like not really scripted. My honest opinion on, and give you a little bit motivation to how to go towards Japanese and how to, why you should studying it. Because, as I said, in Japan, you might have the best time in your life. But to get there, before you have to know Japanese. And the fastest way is Heising Method. Use the Heising Method. Best book ever. Like remembering kanji fast. You can just write it down and you will see this red book. Or this blue book, I believe in English is the blue one. In German it's the red one. And there's 3 books. I mean like 20 bucks each. You have the 60 bucks and you will just kill it. Or go Wanikani. I don't know if it's for free. Because it uses Heising Method, and just do it. Use it and you will be amazing. You will be amazed how fast you learn Japanese. Because of course you can use this Mina no Nihongo, what we used back in the days, or the other stuff. But the thing is, Mina no Nihongo is okay. But I always recommend, rather than those Mina no Nihongo stuff, because it's really all Japanese, old-fashioned, nobody's use it. Use rather those books for JLPTs 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They will give you more of the boost. So if you want to know what kind of books I'm used to learn my Japanese from the get-go till the level I am right now, I can show it to you. I have everything here. And also this kind of book that we learned for the Ryugakushiken in Japan, which was pretty harsh. If you want to know the story, I can tell you that afterwards. Have an awesome day as always. Do not let yourself super now. See you maybe tomorrow.